Warm welcome to each one of you to the Fast Food and Cafe Virtual Expo, which is powered by EatOS. And we're here today to have a panel discussion on the topic of pivoting to cloud kitchens. Now, that's the big question. Let me introduce the panelists to you. We'll start with Abhijit Dabas, who's the VP and Head of Business New Supply at Swiggy. We also have Kumar Katra, founder of Cloud Kitch. We have Muhammad Ali Shah, Head of Operations for Fresh Menu. Vineet Manocha, SVP Culinary for Lightbite Foods. Vikramjit Roy, the founder of Hello Panda. And moderating the session is Sridhar Prasad, who's an independent consultant and has been the head of the internet business for KPMG and Kalari Capital. So I'm looking forward to a very interesting discussion today. And without taking any more time, over to you, Sridhar, to do the needful.
Thank you, Minnie, and a warm welcome to the panelists. It's quite a power-packed panelist of various kinds of people. I was just observing each individual's bio when you introduced. We have got culinary experts on one side, we have got internet experts on the other side, we have got people who have transformed the cloud kitchen business in India. Interesting group of people to discuss today on this topic, which has gained, I would say, two parts of importance in the past 2 years. Obviously, as a new thought process in the business of dining in the country. Maybe 3 years back, 4 years back, people started brainstorming about this, and the past 8 months, where everybody is trying to transform and more importantly, survive. So I was just thinking aloud. I mean, this business of cloud or shared or central kitchens. I mean, kitchen being the heart of this business. All of us have thought through this through our careers. I mean, seeing how can it add value either to the customer or to acquiring the customer or change the way the business is. And considering we have got diverse thought process in this across the industry, I would rather want to start our discussion with the thread of the recent past and the current of how this business is looking at from each of your perspectives. We have got various kinds of experts on this panel, and I was just thinking aloud: is it actually from a WeWork, which was called co-working, to co-living? Now it's co-cooking. I mean, I don't know whether it is just a rental business model these days, but it's encouraging people to come and possibly cook together and make money for the small establishments. For the large establishments like the companies where you all represent, it is a strategic move to pivot, not pivot, or many of you have pivoted and you're advising the others on whether to do this or not. That let me bring in Vineet. Vineet runs multiple brands, legacy business with we all have been enjoying their fine dining experience as well. Vineet, what's your view on this? On how is the concept of whether it is cloud co-cooking, whatever we call it, applicability across various businesses in the country today?
Thank you, Sridhar, for having me here on the panel. And when it comes to kitchens, you rightly mentioned that our business is restaurant. Longest we were running large central kitchens in Delhi and Mumbai, also in Pune. And now, since most of our locations are in the malls and in airports, we had to, in the last 6 weeks, we had to move ahead and look for an alternate that would deliver from. And that is how we started using some of our existing kitchens as cloud kitchens. And we have also ventured to our own multi-brand cloud kitchen. We already opened one, and in the next year we intend to open 36 kitchens. So it is an interesting space. We have seen, on the first location, typically a cloud kitchen, which opened around 12 days back. We have growing. We started with the first day, we started with 6 orders a day. And today, it has, in the last 12 days, it has come to almost, we have touched 90. This weekend, we want to do 100 things. So it is an interesting journey, and shows this space cloud kitchen is a very interesting one, and we will enjoy our presence here.
Sorry, I think I just blocked off. Thanks, Vineet, for that. Just before I move on, Vineet, so this concept now becomes a part of your overall strategy of existing such a large, wide array of brands as well as multiple kinds of locations you service.
Yes, yes, of course. For the next 3 years, we have planned to open 36 kitchens across Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, uh, Pune, and Hyderabad. So that is what we intend to do in the next 3 years.
Okay, interesting. With that, let me bring in Vikramjeet. Vikramjeet, you've been in the system for such a long time with real depth and understanding of the culinary business in the world. Now you have ventured into a new business, Hello Panda. How do you see this new change which has come up in this country?
Um, I honestly, if you ask me whether this adds to the entire F&B industry in a considerable way, I really don't think so. Right? This is something that is a natural progression and transformation for me. We did this more on an emotional level than anything else. Right? The restaurants were shut. The entire team was left lurking on the streets. We had to do something to support the people around us who had been with us for the longest time, which is the main reason why we started Hello Panda. And then post that, obviously we were lucky enough, and God had been kind, that we started doing very well from day one. And within a month of operation, we have now associated ourselves with Mr. Vees Kotak, who's a part of JM Baxi and Boxco World, who's based out of Singapore as well. And we are trying to now step into Delhi, which will open in 15 days' time. Then we are going into Chennai with two spaces. We're going to Hyderabad with 2 spaces. So that's what it has been. I think it's something that we've tried to do something that has not been done in a cloud kitchen, or the other term to that was dark kitchen. Right? We have made everything open here. There's nothing that we are trying to hide. So I've been to a lot of cloud kitchens in Gurgaon and Delhi, and I'm sorry to say, but I've seen businesses which are worth 100 crores working in the most pathetic situations. It's unhygienic. They have got bed sheets as dividers between 2 spaces. Now, it's not the kind of space that I would ever want to eat food from, right? And sorry to say, but I think most of these businesses, which are great on paper and on the balance sheet, they run the most. I mean, for me personally, it's my take, right? Because I come from a culture that we nourish from day one. We nourish, and we always appreciate hygiene. We appreciate orderly behavior and manners. And none of that I could see in any of these kitchens. And trust me when I say that these are 100 crore companies on the balance sheet. So we tried to do our bit by making sure that each and every aspect of the kitchen was something where anybody could feel free to walk in any time of the day. We've got a camera that broadcasts our website, our entire kitchen operation on our website. Throughout the operational hours, we have got nothing to hide. And that's what is making us more confident. And that is how I think the cloud kitchen business will also go ahead.
Interesting. Actually, that thread I would want to bring in towards the latter half of this conversation because it is a pressing problem all over the country. But with that, I'll stick to the thread. I would like to bring in Kumar. Kumar, sitting in Singapore, possibly maybe advanced on this concept, but running a business in India. Kumar, how do you see this change happening on both sides? I mean, from your experience in the eastern side of the world as well as your business in India.
Sure. It's quite interesting. My reason for getting into was quite different from the others on this panel so far, what I've heard. Um, Over the last 3 years, I was building a CRM platform. which allowed the restaurants to understand consumer profile, understand consumer journey, and just to so I saw 30 million profiles of consumers on that platform. And on that platform, the trend was very clear that the restaurant business is moving towards delivery, and this was happening in India, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. While we were observing that, restaurant owners were not willing to believe that change is happening. So I took one step back and I looked at what's happening in US and London particularly, because that's the mecca of the food industry. So, US was far ahead of the trends. There was rapid change happening in US. And all these changes were happening in the restaurant industry. Why? Because of several reasons. One was that e-commerce was becoming more and more part of our life, not just on food delivery, but right from groceries to buying apparel to lifestyle, and everything else was changing online. Two, particularly in India, the Indian population, 50% of the population are millennials, and their expectations are different from all of us on this group. I'm sorry, but none of us qualify in that cycle. But the millennials are driving the need for online deliveries, and that's where the business is heading. So, if any of you have observed your business very closely from a consumer profile, you will see that in last 2 years, majority of the consumers have been in the age group of 18 to 40. And when you divide that segment between 18 to 40, you will find 18 to 24 are the ones who are leading the pack. And then second one is between 24 and 30. They're actually giving us business. And that's the trend. So it was a natural consequence. I wanted to convey this message to many restaurant owners, but this was not going through. I said, this is a perfect to get back into the food business, from technology to infrastructure. That's how CloudKit was born. CloudKit started last year in July. We launched our first property in Mumbai. We are ready to launch 8 properties this year. Obviously, we've taken a backseat. But we are ready now to, as soon as the unlock happens, we are ready to go forward on that. So the point being is that COVID in 6 months has accelerated the growth of Cloud Kitchen. What could have taken 3 years is now happening in 6 months. And that trend is, absolutely visible everywhere. If you look at restaurant business in Singapore, not taken a beating because of COVID at all. Delivery business kept the business, restaurant businesses running. And second was the support from the government. That's obviously, but the first part is that consumers believed that food is not, and food is not going to bring in virus to their house, and people was continuing to order. So the place where I live today, I see Grab and Gojek drivers coming to deliver in about 500 apartments here. You will see that, at least you get 10 deliveries an hour. 120 deliveries happen in 500 apartments.
Interesting. With that, let's bring in Abhijit, who represents possibly the largest platform in the country with all your millennial stories. I'm sure they would have bisected all through these years and perfected the way demand has fluctuated from millennials buying most to today. I hear, I mean, Abhijit can counter when he speaks about the demand spiking in families more than millennials, considering the COVID situation, no maids and no support, and the wife and the husband doesn't want to cook 3 times a day. So let me get into the crux of the business, because Abhijit and Ali both represent the large, the digital first platforms in the country. So I'll ask you first, Abhijit. Abhijit, from your perspective, I would pick this word applicability of Cloud Kitchen, because you have got multiple guys in your platform and your own sub brands also being there. Where has applicability changed in the past 8-9 months? If you can start off with that and give your interactions with your own guys, other Cloud Kitchens, and other brands.
Sure. I think this is a very interesting conversation, and one, like many of the other panelists said, has for some reason become a lot more real over the last 6 odd months. But Cloud Kitchen as a concept is not only born in the last 6 months. Right? I think in our case, we always believe that when industries are at an inflection point, consumers show the way, right? Consumers actually show which way their preferences are trending, and everyone in the ecosystem ought to adapt their models in such a way that they can meet consumers' preferences. In our case, we are obviously a delivery platform, which has been heavily reliant and focused on food so far. And we saw that while food delivery is a very large and increasing market in India, at the same time, the choice of restaurants that we can enable for customers, that is not the same across the country everywhere, right? And unlike dine-in, in delivery, a restaurant can only deliver to a 4, 5, 6 kilometer radius around itself, right? So if you have a fantastic restaurant which is operating in only one part of a city, on the odd occasion, customers living in a very different part of the city might travel there and go and eat there, but they are willing to order in from that restaurant only if it was available to them. But on delivery, that wasn't the case. So the need for cloud kitchens was really born from there, from our perspective. That we saw delivery and we saw that if there was a way in which we could enable access to restaurants to customers wherever they want, that's a win-win for customers, for partners, as well as eventually for us. Right? And in general, if there's anything which works for restaurants, which works for customers, it works for platforms like Swiggy. And that was the initiation point 2.5 years ago, at which we said that, okay, maybe this is a good time to think about how do we actually transplant restaurants to all the places where customers would like to have them. Right? One of the things that we then, on that train of thought that, let's actually take away the most painful part and the most, you can say, cumbersome part of this entire journey for restaurants, which is the high upfront investment, right? And the uncertainty around where do I go and set up my shop? Is this the right location for me? And so on and so forth. And that's when the Swiggy Access business was born. Swiggy Access is just a way for, it's our cloud kitchen business, and the name Access is born out of, it creates access for restaurants to new customers, which they didn't have access to before, and it access for customers to restaurants, which before that they could not access on delivery. Right? Hence the name Access.
Abhijit, let me pause you and ask you a specific question on what you just said.
Sure.
The Swiggy Access model for brands like what Vineet owns is a no-brainer.
Yes.
What about single standalone entrepreneurs who have taken up restaurant business as their life? How does Swiggy Access help them?
Swiggy Access, in reality, does not look at the size or the balance sheet size or the muscle of a partner coming in. Right? The premise is that if you're able to generate enough customer love, even if you're in one location, right? But if you've created a brand and a customer experience that customers keep coming back for, right? And if there is reason to believe that you can replicate that in more than one places, then Swiggy Access or any cloud kitchen model is will welcome you with arms wide open. Right? So it's really not down to how many brands you have. It's not down to how big a balance sheet you have. I think the primary thing is, have you been able to crack the customer experience, which makes you a loved brand? And if that's the case, even for single outlet brands that we have expanded with during the Swiggy Access journey over the last 2 years. So that point is, I would say it's only the strength of the brand and the power of customer experience that you can deliver. So I think that journey has. Sorry, I hope that answers your question, Sridhar.
Yes, I'm clear. Yeah.
So that journey is a 2.5-year-old journey that many restaurants already took to and saw great success with over the last 2 years. I think again in the last 6 months, what has happened is again consumers in the way. Like Kumar was alluding to, I think delivery has been one of the routes that consumers have still placed some amount of trust in, right? And on one extreme, there are customers for whom delivery is very much food delivery is an essential service. And that's the reason why in many cities, even in India, through the lockdown, food delivery as a service was at least kept on. To consumers who today look at food as the only outlet of entertainment while they are at home, right? Food is actually one of the things that people look forward to on weekends or when they in general want to treat themselves. So, and given that people are reluctant to step out of home in the aftermath or the ongoing aftermath of the pandemic, and given that delivery is one of the things that they've shown more trust is, again, the onus is on all of us as an ecosystem to figure out that what operating model can work such that we deliver to the customer's preference, which is now to order in food, more than they used. I wouldn't say they're ordering in more than before, but the balance between ordering in versus dine-in is, surely skewed more in favor of ordering in than before. I think that would be fair to say. And it's up to us as an ecosystem, again, to follow the lead that customers are showing us and figure out how to operate. And in that context, cloud kitchens becomes even more relevant today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would bring in Ali. Ali represents Fresh Menu, one of the brands maybe from the digital first community who have started, if I remember right, Central Kitchen way early. So Ali, how do you see you guys primary brand with a wide set of loyal customers who prefer your meal boxes and meals? How are you guys seeing this new change?
Hi. Thank you, Sridhar. Okay. So yeah, I've heard a lot of inputs from all the panelists. So as Fresh Menu only deals with delivery, so we do not have any kind of new ideas or something, because we knew कि मतलब we are there in this field, and we knew that definitely the only thing which is going to be a hit right now is the delivery, because no one is going to step out of the house, and uh, no one is having maids at home, and then uh, cooking. I think hardly, matlab, people would prefer cooking once a week, twice a week, not 7 days a week. So everyone who's sitting at home would need food from a restaurant or an online delivery or a cloud kitchen. So we obviously knew from the day one that matlab, cloud kitchens are going to be a hit, and most of the people are going to shift from basically from restaurants to see, initially in India, no one knew कि मतलब how this virus is going to affect. So मतलब initially we were thinking कि मतलब things would be better in a month or just 2 or something, or 3 months. So but later on, everyone knew कि मतलब it is very hard for someone to meet in person or go hang out and all those things. So they knew कि मतलब they cannot go to restaurants and can't basically sit and hang out like how they used to do pre-COVID. So what exactly matlab, people started doing is they started matlab, moving on to online delivery. But for a matter of fact, what we saw is कि matlab, the increase in terms of delivery started increasing gradually. We never thought कि matlab, we would see a change so soon कि matlab, people would start preferring. Yeah, there was a mindset of people कि matlab, the virus would spread. How is it? Matlab, delivery is a little. How will the delivery boys be safe? Are they safe? Are they not safe? So there are different delivery channels. So there were a lot of things. So initially in the month of March, April, there were a lot of hiccups. Then post April, everyone, things started normalizing, and WHO said कि मतलब food and delivery is not a place where the virus would affect, and it has a minimum risk and all those things. But yeah, what I get say is in future cloud kitchens is the game. I would not say it for everyone, because uh, it is not for people where uh, the food is on an occasional basis. Matlab, someone who has an occasional food, delivery is not the option, or the cloud kitchen is not an option. But but for everyone else, yeah, delivery is. But right now, what the consumers have in their mind is how safe the food is, how healthy the food is, how is it taken out from a cloud kitchen. Because like as Vikramjit said, I completely agree. Uh, Food which is taken out of kitchen has to have all the checklists. Matlab, we at Fresh Menu follow all the checklists what is given from the WHO guidelines, whether you sanitize this thing, because people don't know what is happening inside the kitchen. So they just see the food. So only thing what you focus right now is safety. You give the quality of the food, the speed of the food. That's what the cloud kitchen, the metrics is what matters right now.
Interesting. Thanks for the opening remarks, gentlemen. I think our starters are over. Let's get into real detail, formal conversations which can aid the audience of this, because I understand from the organizers, the audience are actually people who would want some element of either decision support on should I go the route of cloud kitchen, or certain entrepreneurs who are thinking should I open a cloud kitchen. I'm presuming that is the mindsets of most of the audience of this particular conversation. And with that, let me tell you a couple of things, because I come from a totally different background. I was a consultant all my life, and then an investor, and now I'm advising both parties. There is significant interest in from the investor community in the overall space of food and food delivery, right? I mean, you have seen 5 years back when e-commerce spiked, logistics spiked, right? We have unicorns in logistics in India. So a proxy for that, from the food and food delivery business, what logistics did to e-commerce, cloud kitchen could do for food delivery, because this is actually the back end crux to help the food and the food delivery business to go forward. And possibly that's why a lot of investors in India and abroad have a thesis on enabler businesses for the unicorn businesses, right? So that's where this cloud kitchen really fits in, and that's the first point I wanted to bring in, and associated to that point is the concept of business model, right? So in our earlier conversation, we touched upon the demand side and why people want it, and like Vikram and Vineet and Kumar mentioned about the reasons why they actually moved into cloud kitchen. Now let's talk about the various business models all of you are seeing within your organizations for captive situations, like say Vineet and others would be largely a domestic cloud where you're supporting largely your own brands or possibly brands, some associated brands, and players like Abhijit and others who are possibly thinking about servicing a larger community. The business models could be totally different, because I remember earlier it was rentals out, then it came to share of bill, then it came to value added services, so on and so forth. So I would request us to get into a group discussion rather than and me getting you in at every point in time on this topic, because I believe that you all would have seen different business models in the pre-COVID era and now, where because the rentals are a concern. So maybe I would go back to Abhijit to start with, and then I'll open the floor to all of you. Abhijit, from your perspective, what business models are you seeing which are evolving right now?
Sure. I think this is there is no one right answer to what are the business models that are here to stay, or that are winning today. I think it starts with, again, for a restaurant business to be successful, whoever are the people who take part in that value chain, you have to deliver a great experience to consumers, right? If you're able to deliver great experience to consumers, there will be a profit pool which will get created, and then various people can partake in that profit pool. What we are seeing, and slightly linked to the hygiene point that you brought in before, and that some of the panelists alluded to, there is an element of trust which has come into how consumers make decisions today, right? They tend to go for brands which they have an inherent amount of trust in, right? So it's I think it would be fair to say that, for example, we would agree that if there are people who already are fans of, let's say, one or more of the brands in your portfolio, you would find them coming back to your brands today more than what you had to convince them to probably come back 6-8 months ago, because these are brands that they've gone to. They know that there's a certain amount of experience that they get. They've probably seen their kitchens. They trust the hygiene, therefore. And that is one big factor that's playing into how customers make decisions. And so that's about brands which already cross that trust hurdle in people's minds. But for new entrepreneurs who want to come in right now, I think the trick is, how do you establish yourself as trustworthy brands, as well as brands which go beyond trust and just strike a chord with customers on one or the other parameters, on just the strength of the product or the proposition. That, I think, is changing, and nobody knows the answer for what is the playbook for building good brands, building strong, trustworthy, customer-loved brands in the post-COVID world. Because the ways in which customers are consuming data, the ways in which consumers are consuming messages, it's largely digital. For example, a lot of us, me personally, I can talk from experience. I come across a lot of new brands, whether it's food, restaurant food, or FMCG, through a channel like Instagram. I don't go on the road so often where I'm seeing a hoarding, or I'm seeing, a shop in a market which is selling a new product, a new restaurant. Those channels are completely absent to us, right? So even if there was a new restaurant which were to open up, the high street location will not give the restaurant brand much legs anyway, because that's not where most of the eyeballs are. Most of the eyeballs are on digital channels now. So starting from what allows you to build a great brand, that's, I think, the first part of the business model question, that, what channels do you use for yourself to build a great brand? That, I think, is a very, very crucial question, which, again, we are seeing different ways and means in which people are doing this. The second is, of course, then, irrespective of the strength of the brand, are you able to operate the kitchen in such a way that it always churns out fantastic consumer experience? In Swiggy's world, are you able to constantly churn out restaurants which do 4.2, 4.3, 4.5 rated food, right, on a consistent basis? And that is also not so much a question of cloud kitchens or not. There are examples of both types, good and bad, on cloud kitchen as well as non-cloud kitchen models. There are people who go to the cloud kitchen model thinking that this is a very lean, mean P&L, which you could argue that, yes, it is leaner than the dine-in, right? Because the rentals are lower, the infrastructure is different and all of that. But churning out good quality food is a DNA that organizations either have or don't have, right? It's a,
Understand.
sometimes these are founder driven shops where the founder comes with a lot of passion and is the person who's standing inside that one outlet and makes sure that every single order which goes out meets the bar. Or other times you have a set of processes which have to be set up for a large organization, which I'm sure, for example, for Light Bite by now, there's a ton of processes which have been set up, which doesn't require the same person to be standing in every store. And yet a certain quality will go out. So I think those are questions on the business model that everyone needs to answer. On cloud kitchens per se, what is working in its favor right now is that a lot of the legacy businesses, restaurants in the erstwhile era were built for dine-in, and hence ticket sizes were larger. The number of walk-ins were probably higher. The marketing expenses in getting customers into your fold was probably lower, and hence higher rentals and higher costs of running were justifiable, right? With that revenue stream completely disappearing now, right? Or it's actually a fraction of what it used to be. I think cloud kitchens becomes a lot more pertinent because here the cost of running the operation is a lot leaner, right? That I think it's a fulcrum of why this model is attractive in the first place, is because the cost is lower. But I think the first 2 points I mentioned are extremely critical. Because while the cost can be lower, unless you deliver a good customer experience and unless you create powerful brands, just the cost will not get you too far.
Sure. Vikram, I would like to bring you in here. Do you agree to what Abhijit was talking about from the perspective of the second point, what he raised about you need to ensure that consistency and quality and then marry it with cloud kitchen? What are your views on that?
See, my thought process of food is completely is a little different, right? I understand that processes and standardization of everything to the T is probably plays a very critical part of the food business in this particular model. What I kind of tend to disagree to is that we're talking about food, right? We're not talking about a mobile phone. We're not talking about a bulb. We're not talking about something that is mechanical. We're talking about food. Where is the love in all this, right? And I'm not talking about one store, one person, passion, no passion. I'm talking about you have to create. Why is nobody talking about creating a great team? Investing in people and not just thinking about how many dishes, lean, mean. See, all of that will automatically. That's my personal lookout. I am saying that I am only focusing on creating a great team. Sorry. I'm trying to create a great team that will cook food with love, right? And then automatically, as Abhijit was also saying, that customer experience is the most critical thing in the entire business. The key to customer experience lies in having the right set of people cooking with a lot of love. That seems to be missing in the entire cloud kitchen business. Nobody's talking about love. Nobody's talking about passion in terms of how they cook it, right? Everybody's talking about everything else. I agree completely to everybody who said everything about it. Technically, business wise, where is the love amongst all this? We talk about food that tastes like your mother, but your mother never standardized any recipe. Your mother cooked with love. Your mother cooked thinking that the kids are going to eat it. That's the psychology that we cook with all my teammates cook with. And that, I think, is what we are trying to instill in this business.
Vikram, very, very interesting thought because I was visualizing what you were talking and then looking at the two contrasting sides of any business, not just the business of food, where there is one overload of digital influence and we believe anything can be standardized and it's a tick box kind of a purchase. And on the other side, I mean, primarily from the to start with, from the premiumness of the world, where the experience of cooking and eating, we're marrying each other and individual personas. I also come from a generation where you would know possibly in Delhi who's the best chef in one of the top hotels who cooks the best black dal, and those were icons. Now, this is a different world we are talking about, where in a Swiggy platform, you may never know who cooked what. Absolutely right. So we are marrying these two things. And your question is important. I'm reading a question from a slightly different way, and I'm going to bring in Vineet for this. Where is love in that cooking is actually where is innovation and where is that passion and commitment in the person who is creating that meal for the masses, right? Is possibly the question you're asking. Is it actually missing or not? Let's hear from Vineet, because I can see a lot of brands behind him, and I'm sure he chose this seat for this session deliberately. So Vineet, you have a wide set of brands which you are running, and Vikram's point is, in a cloud kitchen it is very mechanical. You agree, disagree? Over to you.
See, I totally agree with Chef Vikram when he says that food requires to be, it requires a personal touch. It requires motherly affection. It requires passion. And that is the reason why we have still, I'll give you an example to validate this discussion. Punjab Grill, I will talk about our specific brand, which is Punjab Grill. And Punjab Grill, we have almost 16 Punjab Grills in India, and we have 7 overseas. There is not even a single gram of gravy which goes from my central kitchen into a Punjab Grill kitchen. Every Punjab Grill kitchen is a scratch recipe kitchen which does everything within the 4 walls of that kitchen. So that is where our love comes from. That is where the signature of the chef who is running that kitchen comes from. There are so we have a varied portfolio of the brands, and where it is. See, when you are in food business, you have to run brands at various levels. So we have premium brands like Punjab Grill, Zambar, Yumi. These are all scratch kitchens. And then we have QSR, the quick service brands also, like Street Foods by Punjab Grill, Asia 7 Express, which are quick service. They are meant to deliver good hygienic, good quality food, but which is to suit a particular budget and to suit a particular time where the customer wants to have that food in. So yes, please.
Let me just ask you a point. Both of you are coming from one school of thought. Is there a concept of a cloud chef then? You have got chefs who are specialists, sits inside Punjab Grill's most iconic outlet, but that guy's greatness is not tasted by anybody else, and that's what cloud is trying to bridge, right? So would you graduate to that? Cloud chef, as in the guy is accessible to everybody, sits in a central place, cooks for everybody. Possible, not possible?
So in the last 6 months, we have started. Sitting on a Zoom or sitting on in front of a laptop, in front of a camera, you cannot cook for everyone, but you can definitely train a lot of people. We have started our chefs, our master chefs have started doing. You cannot travel. It is a reality of the day. There is restrictions in movement. There is restrictions in overseas travels. So everything is happening in front of the camera. We are doing virtual training sessions on camera. We are doing SOP setting on cameras. We are doing our portion size fixation on cameras. So all that is happening.
Interesting. I'll just pick 3 words from Abhijit, Vikram, and Vineet.
Sridhar, if I can, I'll just
Please.
I'll just come in to qualify. I think it's important to just articulate what a cloud kitchen really is, right? A cloud kitchen is not really a place which is run by robots, where there is no chef, there is no passion. The only difference between a cloud kitchen versus one which is not is that a cloud kitchen does not have a dine-in interface. That is the only difference, and that is the textbook definition of what a cloud kitchen is. Now, inside the cloud kitchen, you could have a chef working there who is churning out recipes just like either from scratch or with support from a central kitchen or what have you. By the way, you could have the same model inside a dine-in also. So I think from my perspective, it's actually not. I wouldn't think it's right to broad brush a cloud kitchen into saying that these are places where there is no passion that people cook with. I think cloud kitchen is just the distinction between having a dine-in interface versus not. Right? And I think
very well said.
It's possible inside a cloud kitchen, and many players, in fact, from the vantage point that we see, having just eyes on so many cities across the country and so many partners across the country, there are many people who come into cloud kitchens, many who come into our cloud kitchens, even the Swiggy Access cloud kitchens, who do cooking from scratch and who are able to churn out great customer experience, go with the same zeal, etc. As well as people who operate with support from a central kitchen, or sometimes even a central kitchen in a different city altogether, and yet are able to instill that same passion, that same fervor in the staff that's running the kitchen. What I completely agree with is that it cannot be a place where the staff who's manning the cloud kitchen is not actually putting their heart and soul into the food. I think the food business is ultimately one where the customers need to feel the love. And there are
Absolutely.
small things, right? The cutlery that goes along with the food, the garnish that's put on the top of the food, a small handwritten note along with the food, those things make a lot of difference. And that comes with the culture that you're able to set in. But this is not to distinguish between what cloud kitchens do versus not. I think that would be a broad
No,
question. Yeah.
no, very well said. Very well said. And for all who are listening to this, I'll just pick three words from Vineet, Vikram, and Abhijit. I mean, we were talking about standardization on one side, and I think Vineet used the word SOP and Vikram used the word love. It's for you guys to mix all the three and ensure that, like what Abhijit concluded just now, that you ensure that, I mean, there is always a standardized SOP for love as well while you're cooking on a lighter note. But anyways, I go back and I want to pick Kumar's brain on a specific point here. I just moved away because we all got excited with what Vikram said. But Kumar, tell me something. I mean, you see from both the countries. I again go back to the word business model of operations. Do you see differences from a perspective of an entrepreneur who is setting up a cloud kitchen, or an entrepreneur who is a restaurant owner who is trying to use a cloud kitchen? Both these situations in Singapore and in India, do you see some business models evolving?
Sure. Before I answer that question, we are called Cloud Chef Cuisine in Singapore. So at some stage, we want to get to the point you raised. Are you going to be a cloud chef? Is there a possibility? So yes. So, but the concept is quite different from how I perceive it, from what you said just now. So coming back to your point, look, the Cloud Kitchen was born out of the need for I believe that this entire value chain, the food value chain, there is a lot of leakage and there is a lot of need for synergy. There is need for collaboration, which is going to make this entire business model efficient. Today, what is Cloud Kitchen bringing to the table is infrastructure, which is fully fitted, licensed. So a restaurant owner, all he needs to do is come with his pots and pans, equipment, and start cooking. Why did we do that? Is that, like all this while this discussion has been, new entrepreneur, new brand, want to test a market, want to enter a new market. How do I take a risk? Should I take a risk? So we're trying to eliminate all those areas. And the second thing is, how do I generate demand? So we're trying to bridge all these gaps, from a good entrepreneur's perspective. We're taking away the risks from them, helping them to iron out the risks by putting a collaborative model. It's coming from on the back of the learnings of a sharing economy model. Simple as that. So that's how Cloud Kitchen was perceived. Now, did I study this? Yes, I did. I did a lot of work between India, Singapore, and US to understand, and also Middle East. So all areas on the geographies, they all have a different approach to cloud kitchen on how they run cloud kitchen business. Now, my philosophy is completely built up around efficiencies, bringing in efficiencies and unlocking profitability for a restaurant owner. What does that mean? Is that not just infrastructure. For example, a chef has a great product when it is cooked in a restaurant. He cooks a nice hot plate with garnish and a great butter on it and whatever else goes around it. The plate is dished and served within 30 seconds. Now, that experience, replicating that experience, going from a kitchen, forget cloud, but going from a kitchen 30 minutes later to a residence, and at that residence, the person is consuming that meal after 30 more minutes and is probably going to microwave. So there are a few steps where the food has probably gone down in its shelf life, for what it was meant to be. Now, there are elements there where there is a lot of work to be done. And all of us see a great recipe going into a restaurant and the same recipe is going into a box. And that is what will evolve. That is how the industry will start realizing that what does a great customer experience mean. It's not just what I was getting at the restaurant, but also when I'm eating after an hour, is it still tasting as good as it was while I was?
Consistency and yep.
Yeah. So this is not coming on back of recent study. This is coming on back of my 27 years of experience. In my past life, I was serving millions of meals every day and in different locations, different geographies. There was passion in every drop of food that went on every plate. Whether it was an industrial canteen manufacturing cars or it was a hospital serving patients and doctors. That's the learning I have, and that's what I'm bringing back to this business. There
Interesting.
are several elements that the industry may have seen as restaurateurs, but I have seen it as not just a restaurateur. I've seen it as a food entrepreneur in different segments, and I've seen it in so many different places around the world. So, and I'm seeing that now in the cloud kitchen business itself. If you go to Middle East, the the perspective of a cloud kitchen operator is different from a Singaporean. In Singapore, when I used to run a restaurant in Singapore way back in 2008-9, a fine dine, ultra high ticket restaurant, four chefs would do 100 covers a day, and four employees would run the entire restaurant, 100 covers. In India, you can check with any of us on the panel, real restaurateurs, you'd know that you need 40 to 50 people, and that's where the model starts becoming inefficient. Same if you apply to the cloud kitchen. If you were to build a cloud kitchen and man it with order takers and digital marketing and then chefs and then cleaners, you need 10, 12, 15 people to run a cloud kitchen. Whereas what we've done is that we've shared that responsibility. In one cloud, we have six different restaurant operators, and we have one manager managing hygiene, food safety, cleanliness for six restaurants
A lot of centralizing within the cloud is what you're
within
talking
the
about,
cloud.
right?
Yeah, just unlocking the efficiencies for
Sure.
everybody.
So on that point, let me ask you a bullet question, and I want all of us to answer. And I don't want you to give your number. I'll give my number. So if there are enough and more people in the audience who want to hear if I move to Cloud Kitchen and if I stabilize in maybe a year down the line, a per meal cost, how much does it come down for me to cook and pack? My number is 25%. You can agree, you can say high or low. Over to you, Kumar, to start with.
Very subjective, but that's very high. In a business, if it was 25% inefficient, then none of us should be in the business.
Very well said. Abhijit, just a number.
I sort of agree with Kumar. I think it is very different, and I think for all the brands that I see behind Vineet, I'm sure he'll also qualify that the range can be huge, right? But yeah, I mean, definitely if you knock off the inefficiencies that come with doing everything yourself, right, which is what a shared cloud kitchen model allows you to do. Again, I want to qualify the definition. What Kumar was talking about was a shared cloud kitchen. There can also be standalone cloud kitchens, which will not see the benefit of
Right.
some of those. If it,
It was also meaning a shared cloud
yeah,
kitchen. So do you agree to my 25 or no?
it can be lower. Like,
Can will be lower. Okay.
the same can
Uh,
be higher.
I,
Again. Yeah.
I will come to Ali the last on this because I want him to speak on this. But let me just pick with the others. Vikram, Vineet Vikram, do you think my number is very high for a shared cloud kitchen? Vineet?
25% I feel is high. It is, although it is very subjective. I mean, it depends on various parameters. Where are you located? What is the rental that you are paying? What is your? I mean, there is a difference in food cost and the cost of manpower from brand to brand. And but 25 seems high.
And Vikram?
Well, why am I the only one who is disagreeing to things, man? Right? I hope at least Mr. Manocha, you would support me here. But no, I think 25, 24, 25 is for me, right, is a great number. Why? I'll tell you, because I don't buy anything from the open market, which is a culture issue, right? I am not just looking at my profitability. I'm also looking at sustainability. I don't want to be in the business for 3 years and then sell off, jerk off the entire valuation of the company, sell it off, and get into another business. I don't want to do this. Cooking food is my life. That's what I've done for the last 20 years. That is what I want to do till the day I die. Right? I love to cook, and I want to build a business that's sustainable. In order to make that business sustainable for a longer period of time, I have to ensure that my quality is in place. And it's not about how good are you at negotiating with your vendors, or whether you're buying things in bulk or not. It's about the ecosystem. It's about giving back to your farmers. I don't buy potatoes or onion also from the open market, which is something that I'm sure none of you will agree with, right? Because all of you must be buying it from the open market, or from at least from the major vendors. My vegetables are being grown in Gurgaon, in Manesar, and we get them from there. There is not even a single meat, fish, or anything that I can't trace back to. My traceability of each and every ingredient is super strong, and we have outsourced it to an agency who validates this for us. We have a safety, security, sustainability inspector on the job who does all the traceability. So I think for the business to be sustainable, 24% food cost, and for the quality that you're trying to give, is pretty good. I mean, I agree that if it's lower, obviously it's much more profitable, but I am also looking at sustainability here.
Interesting. This question actually I was wiring on the mind for. Sorry, Vinith, over to you.
Yeah, I said, Chef, I'm sorry, we were not. I think I got the question wrong. We were not talking about food cost per se. We were talking about the differential between running a restaurant versus running a cloud kitchen. So that is the cost difference that we were looking at. But I am totally with you when you say 24%, 25%. I mean, if it is food cost, it is too low.
Yeah.
It is not high. Yeah.
But having said that, what Vikram said, if you are able to industrialize in a large cloud kitchen, there will be definitely benefits, right? I mean, but still, I'm not changing my number. I'm still going to Ali for support. Actually, this question was for Ali because he has run something which is really central for the past 6-7 years. Ali, what's your thought on my question? I mean, you come from a captive cloud kitchen model for Fresh Menu, but you're an industry expert. You have seen how other companies operate in this space. Do you think moving to cloud kitchen makes, on a steady state, X% benefit? I said 25.
I think it is not that easy to move to a cloud kitchen. Things look greener on the other side. Definitely, people think it is very easy for prepare food and send it from the cloud kitchen. As there are assumptions that there is no chef in the kitchen, but let me tell you that is completely wrong. Every kitchen has a chef, wherein things are being prepared from scratch. You need to validate, and in cloud kitchens also, the biggest challenge is the consistency and the product which you're sending from X kitchen or an X area. A Y area should send the same consistency of food to the customer, because today I'm having food from my office and it is in X area, and if I go home and if I have the same dish and if it is different from what I had from office, then it's a very big challenge. So cloud kitchens do not come with everything in ease. Yeah, there are a lot of benefits to it. The rentals are lower. You don't have dine-in. You don't need that glamorous ambience and that infrastructure and all those things. But minus that, yeah, you need to invest a lot in training. You need to invest, as people said, people need to be passionate about what they're cooking. So the person who's cooking needs to be trained in a way, or he needs to be handled in a way that the food which he's preparing is for himself, that he's going to consume. And assuming that the customer sitting outside. So here, cloud kitchen, the only drawback is people know that they don't face the customer. In dine-in, it's completely different. If you're doing something wrong, then you have a customer sitting outside. So then you'll be immediately called up, or the chef is immediately called up and said, this is wrong. But in cloud kitchen, you need to, there is a customer service team who takes in the complaint if there is any, and then it is conveyed to a to the Tommy or the chef saying that this is wrong. But how do you run it? Like everyone is saying here, the manager or the chef who's there should be passionate about what he's, dishing out. Every dish going out to a customer should be the first food which goes out of the kitchen should be great, and even the last food going out of the kitchen should taste the same way how the first dish was dished out. So, and how do you how do you maintain the consistency? It's about how you standardize the recipes, how do you standardize trainings, and during this time, during the lockdown times, when you can't travel, when you can't physically go and see, it is a very big challenge. But yeah, coming back to your question, 25%. I think it is a small number. If it is food cost, it is less. It is subjective, I would say. There are different, it depends on the ingredients what you put in. It depends on the kind of quality of food what you're giving. But if you're speaking about the business, I
Yeah,
would
business.
say the numbers are okay.
Okay.
So here I
So
want to take a minute and come in for a second.
please.
So there are two perspectives when you ask 25%, right? In what context is that 25% is an important point.
Absolutely.
So in a business, there are two concepts here. One is your profitability, and are you able to manage that? And can you bring down the percent, make it more efficient from a 25%, 30% perspective? The second important piece for a business is risk. How are you going to manage your risk? Right? A cloud kitchen is a better way to manage your risk from the perspective if you take a lease or rather shared cloud kitchen helps you. And again, I'm not saying this in my favor. I'm saying this in the favor of shared economy. Um, let's assume you take a space and build a cloud kitchen or a restaurant. You're locked into real estate for 3 years at a minimum, or maybe 5 years. Now, God forbid that does not work for you. So is that 25% loss, or is it?
Interesting thought. Interesting thought. I get what you're saying. Okay.
So in our context, when it's a shared cloud kitchen, we're helping you to minimize that risk, and that risk automatically gets to your bottom line. So does it impact you 25%? It may impact you 250%.
Understood.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Interesting. Get you. So we are coming to the close of our session. We're about 5-6 minutes more. Let me bring in one futuristic point, and I want to hear from each of you on your future view. I think what we spoke so far is still clouded by the current opportunity or problem because of the lockdowns, right? Whenever it be, when we either get back to what we were before or we get to a different way of working in the next 2-3 quarters, that's the life I'm going to talk about here. And I'll give my view, and I want all of your thoughts as well. So for an entrepreneur to start a co-working space gave everything. As in, you just go there, you get everything from a mail access to internet to sitting place to parking to everything, right? Cloud kitchens today maybe are giving about 60-70% of what a new entrepreneur wants as a kitchen. I'm presuming in most cases procurement is still 100% procurement, like what Vikram said. There's a lot of specialized knowledge which is required to procure the right product. Now, will cloud kitchens evolve to a cloud procurement and cloud kitchen concept or no? First thought I have, which I would leave with you. The second thought is cloud kitchen for whom? Because most of what we spoke so far assumes that cloud kitchen is linked to a concept of food delivery, right? At least most what we spoke, what I heard from you, there is a strong food delivery angle associated with the cloud kitchen, which assumes that your customer is a digital customer who was ordered online. Now, will there be an additional layer to that? Cloud kitchen for dine-in, cloud kitchen for corporates. I'm not talking about the food courts. That's not what I mean. But cloud kitchens for massive residential complexes. Is this a new way forward? It's a thought which I have been thinking about for a while, because the concept of co-living, co-working, marrying, is there a layer on top which is a cloud kitchen with services? These two is where my thought came from. So with that, I'll just go maybe sequentially in my screen to Abhijit first. Your thoughts. No need to stick to what I said, but the short term future of the business of what we are talking about.
Yeah. No, I think the short term as well as I would like to think the slightly longer term future is that cloud kitchen as an operating model, right? I would still not say this is a business model. because the business model encompasses many other things like as an operating model is here to stay, will proliferate in the time to come because of the many advantages that it brings, right? Various shared cloud kitchen players come with a suite of services, products/services, which are different from each other. Some will come in and say that we will only be infrastructure. And now I'm not talking about Swiggy's offering versus someone else's offering. This is as an industry, right? Various cloud kitchen players come in with different things that they offer to anyone who wants to come in. Some who will come in and say that, I will only give you infrastructure. Some will say I will give you infrastructure and equipment. Some will say I will also give you know-how on how to standardize your processes, let's say, right? Or standardize the love, so to speak. Some will say I will even give you help with how to procure, right? Or how to even get financial assistance. I will give you help with recruiting people. The list can go on, right? And the list can really keep going on because there are many things that a restaurateur, whether established or not, needs in order to set up shop and start doing what they know best, which is to churn out the fantastic food that they are known for. So there will be different players who will offer different things, depending on what kind of restaurateur, what kind of partners they want to get on board. But I think in one way or the other, different cloud kitchen players will find a lot of success in the time to come. From my perspective, I see that as happening because, again, consumers are showing the way. Consumers are showing us that as and when dine-in volumes pick up again, and they will for sure. But delivery as a channel for people to consume food is here to stay. That in itself and of itself will keep growing as well, maybe along with dine-in or even separately. And therefore, to have an operating model which is best suited for that is a cloud kitchen model, right? Within that, there are further efficiencies to be gained if you're working in a shared cloud kitchen kind of a model as opposed to a standalone one. But then again, I also know of restaurants which grow in size so much that in a shared space, it's no longer possible for them to find adequate space for them to fit in what all they want to do, right? There are standalone cloud kitchens which, for example, if there's someone who's doing standalone cooking, there are people who require upwards of 1,500, 2,000 square feet of space, right? And that's typically speaking, that's not possible to accommodate in a shared facility. And
it becomes a real estate play, yeah.
We've run hundreds of such facilities, so I can talk from experience. It's not, and for at that scale, and if you're really seeing so much success in the brand that you're giving, then probably makes sense for you to have something of your own. The analogy which you drew with the co-working spaces was also interesting because you mentioned that co-working spaces provide everything to an entrepreneur to start up. I would say they don't provide everything in that they don't provide the idea itself, right? No co-working space will say that, no, you come here and you come here clean slate. I will even give you an idea. And by the way, I will give you the space and the coffee and everything, and you can become successful. Cloud kitchens are similar, right? They enable you to become successful, but the recipe because this business is about food at the end of the day, right? This business is about what you deliver to the customer. That still people will need to bring into a cloud kitchen. That is your secret sauce, right? So that an entrepreneur or a successful restaurateur, an already successful restaurateur, will have to get into a cloud kitchen. The cloud kitchen makes it easier for you to be successful, or de-risks your failure in some way, right? If you want to go that route. So that's on the second point you mentioned. There was a third question. I forgot the last one that you asked.
The future where things come together, as in your large apartment complexes and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Right. So that's an interesting question. I think we've there are examples of some rather large apartment complexes even today. In places like Bangalore, and, for example, which have evaluated the idea of what if the kitchen inside the clubhouse that we had could become a captive kitchen, and that houses one or more already known restaurant brands. Right? Would they want to come in here and cater to this captive audience of X thousand people? I think in the very short term, maybe. But then again, from the economies of scale perspective, it's not the most economically beneficial model for the ecosystem if you have these pockets of only captive audiences. Right? Ideally, you would then, if you extend that a little further, you would want that same restaurant to be able to cater to the next apartment complex or the next one, or at least within a catchment area. And then that's no different from how you have things today. Where they're listed, where if you just extend that to infinity, you will have them listed on a platform or standalone and catering to whichever audience they can cater to. So that one, I personally don't think that one will, even if it comes into existence, it will last too long. I think the most efficient way for things to happen is that there needs to be discovery mechanisms which are democratized and not necessarily built for captive audience.
Captives. Understood. Vikram, your views?
Um, I think what is going to change. Again, I come from my line of thought, so I would say that what is going to change is the way in which you perceive cloud kitchens, right? Earlier, what was taken for granted, right, went missing somehow in some way or the other, right? Like for example, if you talk about a luxury collection hotel, would you want to validate whether the bathrooms are clean or not? When you get into a luxury collection hotel, be it wherever in the world, you would expect that bathrooms are clean, right? That there are no hairs on the bed sheet. Likewise, I think now is the time when things are slowly taking that better turn where hygiene, responsibility, and sustainability is also taken into consideration in a more serious way, right? Where now cloud kitchen owners cannot take it for granted that because my kitchen is not visible, I can do whatever that I want to, and I won't follow everybody writes. Tell me honestly, how many of us have actually validated when anything like WHO uh, sanitized and we follow every norm? Who is validating it? What gives you the right to write on your website or wherever that we are following all WHO protocols? Which aggregator comes to your kitchen and rechecks it? It's, I can say anything, right? I can put up 2 videos of those things and say that fine, I'm washing my hands, cleaning my hand. What is more important, which is more important than washing and cleaning your ingredients, is what goes into your day-to-day operations, whether you are sensitized internally or not, right? That is going to change for the better. Sourcing of ingredients, people are still, I think, and I talk only for myself and my segment, I don't talk for the industry. I think people are willing to pay a little bit more to make sure that the quality of ingredients is better. They are not settling for chicken that comes from Azadpur Mandi, right? They would want to know where the chicken comes from, right? I'm not saying that the mass would want to know, but at least for the target audience that I am catering to, they are, which they were not earlier, right? They appreciate the fact that I send out a potato dish for 295 rupees. They are okay to pay that amount because they know that that potato comes from a farmer who is being supported all this time and he grows it organically. There's no pesticide there. A lot of things have changed and they are changing, right? There are a lot of other restaurants and other cloud kitchens also, reputed ones who are now foraying into cloud kitchen, who are getting this betterment into the system, and it will eventually, slowly but surely, it will change.
Interesting. I'm just picking 2 lines which you said. One, earlier we spoke about, I think Vineet spoke about standardization, and now you're talking about the importance of sourcing. And I'm bringing in the dimension where a large amount of digitally savvy people wanting to know the source of what they consume, right, from apparel to food. It could be a trend, and why it is relevant for today's topic. It's possibly easier to standardize this concept in a cloud kitchen rather than 100 restaurants spread all over the country. Very, very valid point, Vikram. So Vikram's point is about uh, future of cloud kitchens, where you can actually look at the right source and the consumers are getting the right quality because the source is taken care of by some specialist supporting the cloud kitchen. That's the way I'm reading what you said.
Absolutely.
Kumar, your thoughts on the future?
So, personal passion is to look at food for future and water for future. So I've been extensively working on it, and my daughter has been assisting me on it for last 3-4 years. We've been doing research on food and water for future and what's going to happen in 2030. We've got great learning. I had the opportunity to work with people who have done research on these subjects quite, extensively from Stanford and from Harvard. So we get some learnings from there, and we're trying to build the right ecosystem. Which, again, I'm not sure if we will ever get to that stage, but the idea of Cloud Kitch is to bring in infrastructure, bring in technology, bring in the learnings that we have for the ecosystem to develop. And it could be whether it is sustainable, it's food sourcing, it's food wastage, it's transparency in food. There are various elements in this entire piece that we are bringing together for restaurant owners. The fact is that industry, at least the kind of people I have met so far, or the business that I've met so far, they're far away from understanding these are the important aspects of business. Today, everybody wants a most efficient, profitable kitchen, nothing more. I want the real estate. I don't want anything else. That's the approach I have seen today. There is no value for anything else that I'm bringing today to the table. Again, I'm saying that is going to change, and that's going to change because the chefs in the industry are demanding that I want to build transparency in the food supply chain. I want to bring an eco-friendly food. So there are several elements which all of us touched upon, and I've seen that quite intimately happening in various parts of the world. And I've seen technologies supporting how do you bring in transparency? How do you make sure food is, food wastage is visible to people on a day-to-day basis? I've seen a restaurant, a coffee chain in Sydney, where everything is zero recyclable. There's nothing recyclable in the coffee shop. Coffee beans come in tubs. So
many of these you would expect to be adopted by the cloud kitchens as well, is what you're trying to say, right? From technology to sourcing to recycling and less waste. Interesting. I'll go to Ali next. Ali, yeah, sorry.
So I was saying the knowledge base is what I want
the knowledge
to bring.
as well. Democratizing the knowledge. I think earlier, Abhijit mentioned about does a cloud kitchen give the knowledge of the menu as well? So I go to Ali. Ali, your thoughts on the future?
I think the future of cloud kitchens, the ones who are running right now, it would be more of an AI robots involved. AI and robots, I'm not saying in terms of they would not have any kind of people interference. People would be preparing the food, but mostly it is about how you can control wastages, how you can standardize the recipe, how you can ensure a system reads out whether this food is looking good or not good. The AI checks, so there would be machineries where the quantity is checked real time. Right now it is all I would say it is mostly a human intervenes, whereas you are dependable upon what the person sitting there is doing. But when you have an AI or a robot, you don't have to really depend on the person. So this AI is the future of cloud kitchen, where I think a lot of things would be easier. People sitting at a central office can really monitor a lot of things which are happening, and also correct a lot of things in terms of what is going wrong. Also, I would say there are a lot of benefits in terms of controlling wastage. When you know कि मतलब AI or a robot is going to do a lot more efficient work, and it is not going to cheat you, like मतलब it's not going to tell you a lie that this is not happening or that is not happening. So I think कि मतलब AI and robots would be uh, a future of cloud kitchen who are there in existing cloud kitchens right now.
Interesting. I go to Vineet. Vineet has the complexity of the width of brands and then the kinds of places he services. You can add, I know you service multiple airports, you're servicing cinema halls, and you've got your dine-in places. Now you've got your takeaways. Vineet, your view on the future, because you come in from a slightly wider, complex lens.
See, Sridhar, for me, what I would say is how I see a kitchen is a medium to feed good quality food to people. Whether it is a cloud kitchen or it is a restaurant kitchen, any kitchen is a medium for us to serve good quality food. It is a misconception in the market that cloud kitchens are not hygienic, or cloud kitchens are per se not very system oriented or standards oriented. Uh, any responsible, I have a firm belief that any good quality food service operator will always manage his basics properly. There is no compromise on basics, and a cloud kitchen is only helping you to multi-utilize, multitask, utilize your assets and your any infrastructure that you have. So yes, as far as future is concerned, we are looking at technology. to a great extent. We are looking at tamper-proof packaging, which is very important. We are doing a good amount of work on, as Kumar very rightly mentioned earlier, we are looking at how the food travels. I mean, we have been used to serving food instantly, coming out of kitchen and serving it directly to the guest. But now we are looking at how the food travels. The menus are getting tweaked as I mean, how the food will reach after 30-35 minutes to the customer, to the end user. So yes, technology is one very important thing that we are looking at. And future of cloud kitchens, again, any responsible food service operator will always manage the basics very well.
Interesting. Thank you, everyone. I mean, it was a particularly interesting learning for me personally as well, because we had I could see two distinct schools of thoughts in this discussion. One is maybe the most of people I work with are the digitally influenced, and we believe that digital and data is everything on one side. On the other side, many of you who have seen the world of culinary experience evolve in the world to see how customer experience and cooking for love matters many a time to ensure that the customer is connected to you emotionally. So both schools of thoughts on a platform like this, when we are talking about the future of cloud kitchen, which itself was a concept which is maybe 3-4 years old in the country, has been I would say personally for me has been an eye opener with many points. I've noted down thoughts which came from many of you to see for a new entrepreneur, for cloud kitchen, for a new restaurant owner, to whether to start his business in a cloud kitchen, to people like you. There are many of the audience outside who would be like you, would be evaluating, okay, I'm moderate size or I'm big enough, should I actually my future growth, should I rely on this concept of cloud kitchen? So thank you, everyone. Thanks for the time, and it was a really enriching discussion for me, and have a good day.
Thank you, Sridhar. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.